Yeah, we're live now. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. We've got Tone Ways here. He's a Bitcoin. Everyone knows Tone Ways, obviously. So thank you so much. Right now, I think I'm going to be taking the opportunity to run the panel across first. So let's start with Tone. Tone, can you introduce a bit about yourself so that the audience knows who you are before we step into analyzing coins and also predicting the markets and forecasting it?
Sure, I'll make it quick. Hi, everyone. My name is Tone Vays. I have a YouTube channel under my name. I started out in the traditional finance space, worked on Wall Street for about 10 years, joined the crypto space around 2014, 2015, mostly traveled the world, public speaking, educating about Bitcoin and blockchain, and also have a trading background. So a lot of people watch my videos analyzing the price of Bitcoin. I organize a few conferences myself. One is in Las Vegas called Unconfiscatable. One is in Malta called Understanding Bitcoin, and one is for financial professionals called the Financial Summit. That one takes place around the world, Bali. The next one's probably Dubai. That one travels.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tone. We're going to move on to Regine, who's joining us from Berlin, I suppose, and she's been involved in IOTA since its inception. She's the director of marketing strategy there. Regine, welcome to the show. And if you can tell us more about yourself and your interest in how did you enter the market, and when was your market entry into cryptocurrency space? Was it with IOTA or before that?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I enjoy really to participate in this session today. So my background is I started my career in the 90s with digital service companies. So I'm working in innovation since the early 90s in digitization and transformation projects. And so I came across blockchain, I think it was in 2015, and I started to organize meetups in Germany about blockchain startups. And so I came across IOTA. And for me, it was so fascinating because IOTA was so different because it's a kind of a blockchain, but it's a DAG, directed acyclic graph. And there's no blockchain behind. It's a Tangle. It's a different technology, but it's distributed ledger technology, of course. And it was really like something which really caused goosebumps when I heard the vision of IOTA becoming the machine economy. And so I joined first as an advisor to the IOTA Foundation, and now I'm director for market strategy for the IOTA Foundation. And yeah, so
Awesome. That's pretty awesome. And Berlin is actually it's always been a great place. List IOTA, everyone's there. In Berlin, it was such a nice time. Even when I visited last, IOTA, if not many know, Tangle's framework, which helps people build on IOTA. All the machine economy, especially supply chain. A lot of things can happen in the IOTA transaction free economy, so to say. Thank you so much, Regine, joining us at Incrypted, and we're looking forward to what you have to say about the market this year and forward. Moving on to Karthik. Karthik Iyer, everyone knows he's been one of the oldest people entering the blockchain space back from 2010, 11. Has been a wide supporter of the peer-to-peer foundation and still an ambassador and running Blockchain Monk. Been a VC and investor with a lot of companies and early startups and projects that are doing really really well. Rather, so welcome, and if you could tell a bit about yourself, more what I missed.
Very, very kind of you to introduce me like that, and always a pleasure to be at your event. I think you've been doing some very, very interesting events, not just in India but now globally. And I wish you the very best for doing more events like this with high quality speakers. So I'm as you said, I'm part of the P2P Foundation where everything started. So if you search for Satoshi Nakamoto on your computer, the first link is a Wikipedia link, and if you click on the Wikipedia link, there's a section called Character 92, and it'll tell you that the only place Satoshi has a web presence is the P2P Foundation. So one of the first human beings to mine crypto, one of the first human beings to trade crypto. User number 7 at Mt. Gox. Coin Market Cap did a story on me on the 10th anniversary of Bitcoin, on being one of the oldest people in the crypto space. So I've been doing this for
We're looking forward
forever.
to your right predictions, assessing cycles. It's your fourth cycle. now.
Fourth
So
cycle, yeah, the fourth cycle. Humanity's been wiped clean 4 times. You are the fifth iteration. So in the same way, I think we are the fifth iteration of crypto, and it's just very exciting. I mean, to see the whole thing, right? I mean, I feel
absolutely.
very humbled. I'm early investor in Ethereum. One of the first people to mine crypto at a block 2117. I think, if I still remember right, when block reward was 50, and
Yeah,
you could the complexity was 1 or less than 1. So,
absolutely.
we've basically seen this space evolve for long periods of time, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur, built an AI company, was featured by the Economist magazine as a leading innovator in the world in artificial intelligence, built a company called Spouse Up. I run a quantum computing company called Quantum Hermit, which builds next generation quantum ciphers and quantum cryptography. I run a company called Blockchain Monk, which is the oldest company now, I think, a research company in this space. We've done more than 100 projects pretty much in every industry now, logistics, supply chain management, banking, agriculture. You name an industry, we've executed that. The boards are over 27 companies now, blockchain companies in 4 continents. So yeah, I mean, it just feels
Yeah,
like I'm just getting started.
yeah.
So,
Yes, absolutely, Karthik. Thank you so much for being here, and we're going to look forward to your predictions and assessing the coins and projects that are coming in. Obviously, now moving on to Désirée, who's from Switzerland, and she runs her own fund known as Swissrex. A little bit more on Désirée about yourself and your background.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be on Incrypted Asia 2021. My background is traditional finance as well. I studied banking and finance, and I was active as a portfolio manager on a 3 billion European equity fund. 3 years ago, I decided to launch a crypto fund together with my business partner, Reto Stifler. And since then, we've had quite some ups and downs and a lot of learning, a very steep learning curve. And lately, it's been lots of fun because people start to really care about crypto. They start to invest. We have more professional investors getting on board, and we have really interesting people we talk to.
All right, great. So I'll start off with the first. Everyone has been going throughout and seeing every month there are like 20 new names, 20 new projects that come about, and your friends saying, "Oh, I got 50x on this one. Did you buy?" First you get baked, then you get caked, then you get creamed, and then so many things that come about that most people don't understand. Obviously, like we've seen 10 to 15, 20 qualitative projects that have survived all winters, mostly that have happened. Obviously, like there's been one big winter which everyone's mostly survived. But how do we see this market going in deeper into a better summer, or everyone's thinking that we reach drop. We're gonna start off with Tone because Tone's already got already got something that he has predicted before, or kind of analyzed before. So let's start with you, Tone. Do you see projects that are going on for 10 years stabilizing, or how do you see the market going in now? Is too much
So
traffic? Good. Yeah.
So going into this bull market cycle, I really felt that Bitcoin would separate from the rest of crypto, but clearly that has not happened. The rest of crypto has outpaced Bitcoin in this particular bull market cycle. And it tells me a very important thing about this market cycle, that it's probably going to end very similarly to the last market cycle of 2017. I was hoping there would be this exit velocity and then we would stabilize. But I don't think that's going to happen now. I think this market cycle will be a little bit different. I am looking at like this double top. Right now, yesterday, the price of everything shot up again. I am
Yep.
looking for a top in prices sometime in the next month or two, then a pretty significant dip, and then one more shot to the upside, followed by a pretty big crash, because people are just investing money in craziness, and the only way that ends is badly.
True. That is definitely. So if you wanna put put a number to it, at least like let's say where at least for Bitcoin, Ethereum, the new applications that are coming on top of the layer twos right now on Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin itself is Lightning and stuff. Do you not think that the application framework is gonna increase in terms of Bitcoin really being programmable in nature as well?
No, the building on top of it is certainly going to increase. across the board. Everyone is building more and more things on top of these blockchains because a lot of people think that transactions are free, and a lot of people think that space is cheap, and everyone wants to outsource their data storage to a blockchain, and they're going to learn that scaling is difficult. Ethereum is learning it now. They're having huge scaling difficulties, and we will see how the fork in Ethereum goes as they migrate away from proof of work. And Ethereum is having these challenges, and all the other blockchains that want to pretend to be decentralized will have the same exact challenges. I mean, these are very difficult computer science problems, but everyone 12 years old and up thinks they have a solution.
Désirée, you are a crypto maximalist now since the last 3 years. What do you have to say on what Tone says? Like, do we want to see the Bitcoin dominance is already going down, following a similar pattern to what it did in the last season. So we're going to expect a big all season coming in. Everyone's expecting that. Tone agrees to that, but says that it's going to dip majorly. What are your thoughts about this year going forward, and what do you expect other people to do who are investing in these coins?
So what I can see from a flow perspective is that more professional investors are getting into the space. We are seeing lots of inflows from asset management companies and family offices. They are really starting to place bigger tickets and to increase their positions over a couple of months. Currently, it's only the small investors that were in the fund for many years, 3 years already, that start to redeem a small portion. And this is not what we usually would see at the peak of the market. So being in this environment with negative interest rates, with inflation fear, I think it will continue. Currently, we don't have any Bitcoins in the portfolio. We are fully invested in altcoins, around 10 of them. And the more the market moves forward, we start to switch into more arbitrage positions, more market neutral exposure, so that we can hopefully save our assets in a market.
Absolutely, got it. So and moving on to Regine on this one, because I want to add when we talk about negative interest rates, Désirée mentioned as well. The whole effect mostly started from the EU. Obviously, like it entered US now as well. So Germany was having negative interest rates, I reckon, back in 2011, 2012. For a short period of time, I remember, and European, European as a nation, Europe as a nation, the whole region got introduced to crypto earlier as well, and were more kind of pro crypto before anyone else around the world, even in North America, I would say. Starting off from UK. So what do you think, Regine? How is it panning out to be? Do you see a difference from the last bull cycle? In 2017, things have changed. Even how do you see IOTA, evolving as a project by itself? A lot of disconcerting news in the past with IOTA as well. So how do you see this market, different from the last market, and what are your views on how it's going to pan out to be?
Yeah. So first of all, in Germany there will come a new law in the 1st of July. That means like institutional investors can now officially invest in crypto, and this is then allowed. And Germans in general, they are a little bit risk aware. So coming from this point that we have this law in July, I think this will have a huge impact in the market, because then the institutional investors, they will put more money in crypto, because this is really interesting for them, of course. Also, like because of the inflation fear, which is going around because of Corona and so on, and the financial market. So I think this will have a huge impact here in Europe. And also, like, I think what still is missing is that it's not so easy to buy crypto for the normal people, It's not
accessible.
So easy. And if we will work on like making it easier to buy it and to have it, and to maintain it, and more security aspects in this could help a lot as well. So for IOTA in the moment, it's looking very good. So we had the coin is developing amazingly. So we have now a 10 times more value than before in January, because there was a major update in technology, and IOTA has some, as I said, benefits comparing to blockchain. It's scalable because it has a different architecture, and it has no fees, no transaction fees, and it does not have miners, and it's like a green protocol. So I think the future is also for these kind of new protocols. I call it the third generation of blockchains, because they are based on different algorithms and architecture. And so, this new update, which went really well, makes me very positive. So for IOTA in general, but also for the whole crypto space, of course. So technology is evolving. That has the result that more and more enterprises are stepping in the market. We get so many requests, you can't imagine, working with the industry on use cases, but not only proof of concepts, no real product and services. And that's a huge change. Before 1 year ago, it was all about like little small proof of concept cases. But now enterprises, corporates, they are adapting the technology and using it really to develop products and services. We also see much more startups in this space. So all this together makes me really confident that this will be a very good year for Europe and even better for next year.
So no winters this year.
No.
Winter this year.
No, it's like always this roller coaster in crypto.
Yeah.
You need to stand that. But
Don't say there's going to be a plug pull sooner than later.
Yeah, the long view, but it's not like the long view. Of course, if you are a day trader or you do short-term investments, but in general, I think it's only way up. It's
only way is up. Great. Let's move on to Karthik and really understand, his views on what he's seen in previous cycles and what's different for this cycle, especially because, Karthik comes from a background where he's seen this is the fourth cycle. So what is this time truly different? Karthik, and should we say positive, about the whole scenario?
So, I mean, Navi, this is it's an interesting time because, crypto came about during a time of crises. So last time it was 2008, I was doing my PhD in Norway at the University of Oslo. And this is also where I met Michelle Bowens, the founder of the P2P Foundation, the world's largest think tank on decentralization. So the financial crisis wiped out most of Europe, right? I mean, it started in America, went to Europe, Greece went bankrupt, Spain went bankrupt, Portugal went bankrupt. So, and then people realized that, they needed to have a way in which, they had control over the future, because money at the end of the day is time. You have 24 hours a day. You go and you can either go and work, write some code, or you can go and work in the field. So what you do is you basically store time in as money, right? So they created a system in which, this time can be stored, and this Bitcoin was a beautiful time storing mechanism because you expend a lot of power and energy to mine the chain, right? And you store your time in the chain. So it's a time machine, which is why I think this proof of work is a very powerful idea, and really nothing else can come close to it, right? You cannot break the Bitcoin blockchain because, there's so much money and energy and time has been spent to do where it is. So, what I've seen is that every time there's a crisis, this thing gets stronger, right? Decentralization becomes stronger because there are three pillars in the society. I've done 50 keynotes and I introduce this idea in all my keynotes. Humanity has three pillars. So first pillar is governments, right? So governments organize economic activity. The second pillar is private institutions, large corporations. And the third pillar is people coming together. So when governments fail and when private institutions fail, there has to be a mechanism in which people can come together and organize economic activity. Let's assume this scenario that, like this pandemic becomes worse, right? This sort of leads to a nuclear war, right? People get like serious exchange, nuclear exchange between countries, right? I mean, it's sort of in the realm of possibility right now. And so if in that scenario, I mean, there won't be governments, there won't be private institutions. If humanity has to restart itself, it'll need a mechanism in which it could restart, right? So, I mean, that's why I think decentralization takes over during times of uncertainty. So 2008 is when it started. The first block of the Bitcoin blockchain, as all of us know, is a Time newspaper article saying Chancellor on the brink of bailouts. So the lack of faith in private institutions and governments is what led to this. And so we saw the second cycle, when Mt. Gox got hacked, people panicked and then they dumped crypto. And, the third cycle was this 2017 boom. And now boom and bust cycle, right? When all the ICOs came in, 800 ICOs, pumped up on escape schemes, like you write a white paper and you raise some $50-60 million. I remember talking to Eyal Herzog, my friend from Israel. I invited him to Singapore to speak at an event in 2018 called Decentralize, and they had raised some $250 million, the biggest project in Israel. Tim Draper, Adam Draper invested. He was telling me how straightforward it was to go and raise $250 million. So, we've seen the cycle. And this time, what's happening now is that this is like the biggest crises of our lifetimes, right? It seems like every generation has to go through something, right? Our grandparents went to the First World War. Parents, some of our older parents saw Second World War and then sort of reminiscent of it.
Absolutely.
We are going through this big crises. This is like, so much pain and suffering, right? all over the world.
Absolutely.
So this time,
faster pace, and things are moving decentralized. I'm sure I can second you on that. Things are needed to be moved there, but don't everyone has the concerns of the ways that we are managing it. We all understand the thoughts and I would say the concerns or our intention behind it. One way or the other, the world has to change for the good and evolve. Is blockchain the answer to everything? Probably not. But has it changed the world? It started to, right? Would there be scams? They're everywhere, right? So we got to be cautious in kind of moving ahead with the right.
Yeah. So this time it's a little bit more mature because seeing big institutions.
I'm sure, like the white papers are more mature.
So
the white papers are more mature.
The scams have become better. The better scams.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back. Let's go back. Tsering Namgyal is here, and he's going to take over the. He had some problems joining in earlier. He's basically a writer, publisher, editor with the Blockchain Asset Review. And so, Tsering, you've got questions for the speakers. I'm going to go backstage. Everyone is here. You can make yourself available.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm back in finally. Thanks for the management team. They're very efficient. So, I just want to ask a few questions to start with, because Karthik was speaking earlier, so I'll just go to the tone. So what do you think is, as a Bitcoin maximalist, what will happen to the altcoins?
Well, so here's the thing. So I just want to comment on a couple of things people said. So Karthik, when you mentioned about Bitcoin being time, so the word blockchain was never in Satoshi's white paper. That is something people found in Satoshi's code as a comment and just ran with that term without really understanding what it actually meant. And now everything is a blockchain that used to be called a database. But in Satoshi's original brainstorming of Bitcoin and his, comments on the internet, he referred to it as a time chain instead of a blockchain. And I really wonder where this industry would be if the term was time chain, where the term blockchain was in the code, because the term blockchain was basically describing the connection of blocks that are found by mining. And all these things that are blockchain right now don't even have blocks. So what is the blockchain part of these processes? Also, my portfolio is 100% Bitcoin because it was mentioned that Swissrex is 10 altcoins and no Bitcoin. Mine is the complete opposite of that. And so my view is that a lot of these projects, including Ethereum, they're all basically like testnets. Bitcoin has a testnet. It's called Bitcoin testnet. Nobody invests in the Bitcoin testnet tokens because the Bitcoin programmers have the ability to reset those tokens back to zero anytime they like when they want to just reset the system. So obviously no one is going to invest in those. But all these other ones, right? There are some that are privacy focused. There are some that are saying they're faster. There are some that are saying they're cheaper. Ethereum has this layer for smart contracts. All of them are basically test nets that people, for some reason, feel like they want to invest in. At the end of the day, if that functionality is proven necessary in the world, it will get migrated on top of Bitcoin. Bitcoin now has Lightning for fast, cheap payments. Bitcoin is about to have a bunch of upgrades that will give it a lot more privacy. And Bitcoin now has a layer called Liquid, which is basically a competitor to Ethereum now, and Cardano and all the other smart contract applications. The reason why a lot of people don't know about it is because there isn't an inherent token for people to get rich on. So the promotion and the development and the pumping of that chain is very, very slow because there isn't a direct financial benefit from a speculative investment. So over time, everything will migrate to a single blockchain, just like everything has migrated to a single internet. We've been using a single internet for most of our lives, the last 10 to 15 years, because people realized having 25 different internets and having this thing streamed on 25 different internets is completely inefficient. And I believe that's the future. So sooner or later, when the transactions on Ethereum become $1,000, people will need to migrate to something else, and something else, and eventually you'll anchor to Bitcoin.
Thank you. Karthik, do you want to comment on it briefly?
Absolutely. I mean, having read the white paper in 2009 and explained it to, the stories on coin market cap. So if people put in Karthik and coin market cap, they would basically see it. So, I mean, this is like, what I completely agree with what Tone's saying. I mean, I think, there would be convergence of chains, and I think it'll go towards a single standard. I mean, at least for public chains. But, I'm also part of the open source movement. What I've seen in the open source movement is that the minute you open source something, nothing dies. So it finds life. So all these protocols will exist in some form or shape, but I think there'll be one interesting standard that'll happen. And I think it's very important for people to understand the time, money, energy correlation, right? I'm actually looking to write a paper on it, a research paper, on how we need to understand money and how money has been misinterpreted and misrepresented. So yeah, I mean, I leave it.
Thank you. So now I would just move the conversation a little bit here, and I would like to ask Désirée, what digital assets are you excited about right now, and why?
So compared to Tone, we actually like Ethereum. Ethereum 2.0 pays staking rewards of around 8% right now. There will be platform fees in the future, and this gives us the possibility to calculate the PE ratio, which is at around 17 for 2022. Other tokens we quite like currently are out of the decentralized finance space. Uniswap is one of our favorites, one of the largest exchanges. They create trading fees of more than $1 billion US. And for them, we can calculate a PE ratio of around 20 for next year. So this is where our current focus is.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think we should go to now Regine. Regine's chance to talk here. And I just want to ask you, what do you see as the key reasons for the governments and the institutional investors moving into crypto?
Yeah, because it's a new asset class, right? So this is something different. And I think also when we think about tokenization of assets in general, this will become a huge market and really interesting also for investors. So you will have more liquidity and you can trade it, and it's so much easier to use it. And I think also to have much more gain when you look at the interest you can earn with crypto. It's so much better than the other asset class you have today. So I think it's really interesting and really valuable for them to look into it and also invest in it. And therefore, I think it's relevant.
Thank you so much. So I'll go to Tone, back to Tone. And this is the question that I'm sure everybody wants to know the answer for. What will drive the price of Bitcoin? Because it's grown up so much, right, this year. And how should one read the technical charts for Bitcoin?
Well, very different things. The technical charts for Bitcoin is more for at-home traders that don't have the resources of a hedge fund to do any real fundamental analysis. So reading the charts, that's more shorter term trading. On the bigger picture, what will drive the price of Bitcoin to say $250,000, $1 million? I've been doing these presentations since 2016, 17, and I had three main reasons. One, I always felt uncomfortable with the structure of the European common currency because of all these countries, especially after what happened in 2011 and then again in 2015. I'm amazed how the European common currency is still together. So one of these days, probably this decade, the European common currency is going to break up. And as these countries go back to their old currencies, people are not they're gonna say, hey, why am I gonna go back to the, like the drachma or the lira? I don't trust my country. I'd rather go into Bitcoin with my euros while they still exist. I think that's a huge catalyst. My other huge catalyst has always been the elimination of cash. The elimination of cash because the governments want to have negative interest rates. They want to put the pictures of run-on banks in the history books. I mean, there's no ATM machines. There's nowhere to go to withdraw your cash. So you can't have a run on the bank. They want to monitor every transaction. The elimination of cash is a huge driver into Bitcoin as well. So those have always been my main catalysts. Also, the continued push for more AML and KYC laws, which are insane. That drives people into Bitcoin. But now I have an even bigger catalyst. After the 2020 US election, I just don't see how the United States is going to be respected around the world after what happened on January 6th. I was actually there. I was at the Capitol on January 6th, not inside the Capitol, but I was there recording it for my YouTube channel, what was going on. And that election, I just don't see how the United States election process and the government and the US economics is going to be respected going forward. And once the world starts to lose respect for the world common currency, they will start to look for alternatives. And if the US loses its power as the world reserve currency, Bitcoin will literally skyrocket 10x overnight. Because people will trust Bitcoin more than any other single country. The IMF is trying to come up with some kind of a plan to have currencies of a bunch of countries. Those countries will never agree on anything. So these are the main catalysts that will drive Bitcoin to $1 million a coin.
Okay, thank you. So we're running out of time here, but I want to ask Karthik, do you want to comment on the price of Bitcoin on the back of what just Tone said?
No, absolutely. I think large institutions around the world are using Bitcoin as part of their treasury function. I think they're also looking at altcoins like Ethereum and Cardano. So I think the times of uncertainty have basically fueled a rally of crypto, and this is the most uncertain of times in the history of the world. So we will continue to see a price rise. I mean, my discussion with you on your podcast series last year, I mentioned the price target to be $100,000, and I stick to it. I think it's going to be bare minimum $100,000 before the end of the year. I mean, if things continue the way they are.
That's great. So $100,000 is a good price target. So I want to ask Désirée, what is your view on Ethereum? I think you spoke earlier, but I just want to ask you, is Ethereum as a digital asset, or is it being a technology?
So actually we consider Ethereum being the operating system of the blockchain, comparable to Windows as the operating system of the internet. And I think the technology and the currency are very interconnected, because Ether is the currency and Ethereum is the platform. And in the future, you will need to pay your fees in Ether when you want to access the Ethereum platform. And herewith, I think you cannot really keep them apart from each other. They are very much interconnected.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what advice would you give to the first-time digital asset buyers? I want to ask Regine, what advice do you have to give to the first-time digital asset buyers?
Yeah, so make sure that you don't lose your keys then, and take care about the security of it, because this happens a lot because people don't understand that they really need to take care about the security, and that they need to have really like looking into it, how to store it and to take care about it. So this is something. And also do your research. This is something you also need to do, that you cannot trust just recommendations. You should do your own research, look into the digital assets you want to invest in, and learn a little bit about it and understand it before you just investing in just because others are doing it. So it's always good to learn a little bit about what you are investing in. So this would be my advice.
Great. Désirée, do you want to add your view about what the first-time buyers should pay attention to?
Yeah, I think it's important to be curious and to try it yourself. I mean, for me, it was a very good exercise to start opening my own wallet to access a crypto exchange, to buy tokens, to try to store them safely. And for those who find out that it's too difficult, then they can still invest in an actively managed product like ours.
Yes. Right. Thank you so much. So I would like to ask Karthik for your views on the digital assets in general, and where do you see the Bitcoin price in 2025? You said $100,000, and why do you think so that it should go up to 100,000? So this sort
No,
of
I
a
think digital assets are going through this cycle of yeah, upheaval, massive upheaval, right? I mean, we saw the S curve. So I think they've matured quite a bit, but I think we are seeing a bull run. People think all coins are like Bitcoin, and they're investing in all coins. There has to be a meaningful way in which we can derive at the price of all coins. So that if you put in Karthik, Iyer, tokenomics, I gave a master class in Singapore to attended by over 1,000 people, and I talk about econometric modeling, monetary policy, physical policy management, all that stuff. And so there has to be a meaningful way in arriving at token price. And there are also challenges in which, when you're paying for a token, what you're paying is to run the smart contract on the network, right? You're paying fees. It's sort of like paying for AWS. On the other hand, it's trading like a security. So security is based on the two different things. When you're paying for network fees, what you're paying for is the compute power. Whereas when you pay like a security, what you're paying is future expectation of how the network will perform. So these are two different things, and this is another problem, right? A lot of the investors in the space do not come from mathematical finance backgrounds, and this world is based on technology. It's based on network theory. It's based on network economics. It's based on mathematical finance. I mean, there are so many different universes in which you need to conquer to make sense of all these things. Which is why I've seen funds come and go, right? I mean, I've seen like half a dozen funds that have come and vanished and lost their shirt and gone. And I think it's very important to have a very meaningful understanding of these things, right? Everybody's in exaltation right now because they're going in, they're making quick money, but the market corrects 80% like it did in 2017, 80, 90%. A lot of them would lose their shirt, and so I think it's very important to have risk management measures. It's important to have products that are to hedge your risk by using products that are already available in the market, and to have ask the tough questions, right? I mean, the Ethereum price is $3,000. I mean, people are predicting it's going to go to $3,000. How do you price that thing? Or it just cannot be based on market value, right? Or let's say Bitcoin price is $100,000. I mean, how is it going to be $100,000, right? And then all of that stuff. So there has to be an open, meaningful way in which we should arrive at price, and which will save a lot of pain. And because I think if this crash comes, right, it's $2 trillion. It's going to be the biggest crash in the history of crypto. It's the size of a small economy. $2 trillion is almost like the size of India's real GDP, right? I mean, not purchasing power, but nominal GDP.
We've reached 5 trillion, I think.
So
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, 80% of $2 trillion is a massively large amount, right? I mean, a lot of people, like simple, humble people, are going to lose their money. So I think we need to be very practical about this. I think we need to write more papers about it, publish our research open source, and have checks and balances. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank
my
you.
take
Thank you.
because yeah.
Awesome, guys. So we're running a little short of time as well. I'm really happy, for Tone, Regine, everyone. Like there's like I said, there's so much to know about the industry at the moment, and any economics that everyone we are all talking about. We can only take a certain aspect, a certain perspective towards it. What pans out to be in reality can be stranger than whatever we can think about. So let's just see and wait and what happens. There's so many good projects that are trying to help the world, and trying to make it a better place. So let's see them kind of seed up. Definitely a lot to think about when it comes to investing in something. And you guys presented your perspective and views on first time people who are entering the market. Always keep the keys with you, even if you wanted to go into a winter, even if you want to go into a summer, you got to keep the keys with you, and that's very important to know. Economics is something that we all need to learn through time, and it's a discipline by its own self. So thank you so much, Tone, Regine, again, Désirée.